Hello there everyone, so let's review another faction. This time it will be the Woodland Realm. Now pretty much I like their roster. They're kind of like, for me, the typical elven faction, I would say, what we get used to know. In terms of, you have very small units, but you have a lot of different archers. These guys are like the English, if you compare it to Medieval 2 of um, the Medieval 2 version, when you have all those different longbowmen, it's kind of the same thing in terms of roster for the Woodland Realm. But I'm pretty sure that this is about the most interesting Elven campaign, I would say. I'm going to explain a little bit why. First of all, you do have all those woods. You started completely in the woods, and then you have just a very straight pathing, as in you're going to go against Shadow of Mirkwood, which is pretty strong. But still, it's mostly all in the woods, which kind of feels like, for me, the most, elven-based idea, Now, let's talk about this. So, you have a very long campaign, I would say, because you gotta eliminate Shadow of Mordor, you gotta eliminate Shadow of Mirkwood. Do note that this is kind of the same details of the realm of the Galadrim. I mean, you have to conquer the same thing. Well, I would say that not exactly, because this starting position means that you'll have to go all the way here, and if you go to war against the Valesmen, you'll probably get a better, some better terrain, some better cities and stuff, but that will bring you against the orcs of Misty Mountain. So it's kind of like, if you go against only Shadow of Mirkwood, you might not have the infrastructure needed to then attack Mordor easily, and it will be like a streamlined place. So I would always consider that the Woodland Realm would have a slightly longer campaign than the Galadrim. Additionally, you might get into trouble against Rune or even Dorwinion if they go evil, so much more than you can with the Realm of the Galadrim. So that's why I would give this a longer campaign. When I mean long campaign, it means, like, let's state if an average campaign will take like 120 or 150 turns, this will take 20 to 30 to even 40 more, and if it would take 100 more turns, then that will be a very long campaign, which is kind of like the idea of Grey Havens. Grey Havens of Linden is pretty much the longest campaign that I've seen so far, because of their location and their victory objectives. So you do start with a very average location. You have one fort. Even though that's badly placed, I would reckon that you can actually use it early on to grow. The peace with the orcs is actually possible. I'm going to show you, because you're actually at war initially with the orcs of Misty Mountains, but you can sue for peace, which is awesome. You only have an agent, which is a spy. I'm going to show you. I'm pretty sure this spy, the only idea for him is kind of like to check what's going on here. I'm going to show you that there's immediately a rebel town. I mean, these guys are no match. I would go immediately against these rebel cities and capture them. But ambushes are a problem in the woods. Ambushes are a problem because many of these pathings have spiders, have other rebels there, so just be careful. It's always make sure that your units are moving through already charted territory. Don't send a unit to, like, a bodyguard to get a watchtower, because he might be ambushed and then you can lose him. So you have a good possibility of military access trading. This was something that I noted because, as soon as I started building a diplomat, on the next few turns I managed to sell military access to all of these guys, just because your forests are between their enemies and them. So, it's kind of something that you can take advantage of. You have an early war versus Dol Guldur. I mean, they will probably be around here by the time that you are on Erin Dolan. So in kind of like the first 10 turns, I managed to avoid them a little bit, but they were very close. The war would start like in 12 or 13 turns, let's say, even less than that. However, I would like to note that you actually have a good unit production, unlike the Lorien Elves, because you start with many more units that you can actually produce. I mean, let's talk about the units already, but you do have very good units overall. So let's talk on that a little bit. I mean, you also have this place that can recruit, and any place that you start, that you attack and take, will also have more production. So it's kind of different than the Lorien Elves, which rely so heavily on their initial settlements, and also on Limladris, for instance. It's let's say the second Elven faction that has the most productivity. I mean, it's really cool. Now, in terms of military, let's talk about the bodyguards because I love these guys, bodyguards. I think overall they're about one of the best. They're even higher in melee than the Galadrims, and the Galadrims are actually much better. Really good. I mean, they do have some bonuses against the Black Mounts of the Ulari, so take advantage of this. These guys have bonuses against other, against their nasty cavalrymen, so that's really nice. From Dol Guldur, you know. He does have a special ability of swiftness. You've seen this on the other Elven overview. So basically, this allows your archers to be even more effective, or to run away from the enemy, or even just to make sure that they will immediately start attacking, because it does increase your army combat effectiveness. So it's really cool. And reduction to the enemy. It's overall a very, I think it's one of the abilities that actually causes more stuff on the battleground, other than the ability from Mordor's generals, for instance, from the Nazgul. Now there will be this general, but how about Legolas? Legolas has a unit of Hinidaur. Now they can hide anywhere. Don't overlook these, and their upkeep is actually cheap for a bodyguard unit. He does have the swiftness ability as well, so you have 2 generals with that, which is really cool. And do count that their range is about the highest I've seen so far. An exceptional accuracy. These guys are second to none. I mean, you can count on them to kill and mow from pretty far away. It's almost 100 over some archers. I mean, do note that these guys have 240 range. It's 100 more than the crossbowmen that I'm using on the Veil of the Winning campaign. So think about that. Now, let me show you the unit infrastructure. So one moment. In terms of stables, by the way, you only have Woodland Horse Archers. Now, these are kind of light cavalry with a missile attack. They do have some bonuses. I mean, they have a high accuracy. It's quite fine. But you will be able to recruit some cavalry, even though not over here. You can only recruit it on Thranduil's halls later on. That is if you decline the alliance. There's a small thing that can happen on that, a small event, but we'll get to it in a moment. But they do like a little bit of heavy cavalry. That's something that they do not have. I mean, let me just check one thing. Sorry, I was why did I close this? So let's check the barracks. Now, I would like to note that the barracks are actually slightly different, because you know, you don't have the woodlands. In terms of the elven units, they have a very good unit that I actually love, and is particularly so good against Mordor later on, and even against the bodyguards of Dol Guldur. You're gonna love that. So you get a woodland spearman. Pretty nice, you know. You need some spearmen to defeat cavalry. Then you have some woodland warriors. They're not you're gonna see that they're better on the attack and lower on the defense. These used to be effective against armor units. They are no longer, which is kind of bad. You know, these would be the best in that case. This was actually the best unit on Moss that I would consider from the elves, because they would have a spearman unit and a hack and slasher unit, which was effective against armor. Now, let's check out the Woodland Wardens. Now, these are skilled against mounts. They do not have the effective against armor, but they are javelin units. You can see the range 65, accuracy high. It's really nice. They only have 4 missiles. I mean, compared to the Galadrim ones, they are weaker, because the Galadrim have 2 extra missiles and the range of 70. It's really cool. But yeah, that's about it. Javelin units. It's really cool. They can only hide in woods, which is kind of bad, but okay. Use them as skirmishers. Just station them in front of your archers, for instance. That was what I would do. Then you have the Elder Council, and these guys are actually the same thing. They're javelins, but much better. 14. Now, I don't think that these are actually too needed. I would have like 2 units on every single army and use them to screen the army. That would be it. Because they're very high in upkeep for what you can get from them. But to note that you kind of have, just with one building, you kind of have some missile units and some infantry units, so it's kind of cool. So this is the unit that I want to talk about. 13 attack with effective against armor. These guys just hack and slash whatever they have in front. This is the unit that you should use against anything that is armored. And the fact that you're going to have like 3 or 4 of them, if you can, on each army, it's just going to demolish any army that comes up to it. It's really cool, and it's pretty much the unit that you should aim for as fast as possible. Then you have Ir and Ek. Sorry if I'm ruining the names. They can make a shield wall, and these guys are kind of like lancers, let's say. These are the heavy spearmen that they have. They're pretty high. They have pretty higher upkeep than other elven elite units, which is kind of like a problem. Let's speak from my notes, from what I've played on the 10 turns. So they're very archer based, the overall. They have lower high-end infantry. This infantry is not as high-end as the others, and they're actually higher in upkeep compared to the other elven factions. So you're paying more for not as brutal as an elite army as you could get. You still have here Ilang. I mean, these guys are really good swordsmen. Attack 18. It's not uncommon to see 22 here or 23 on elven factions, even closer to 25 or 6. So, the only thing that I would say is that these guys have the bonuses against the Black Mounts, which is really important for you to have. Now, let's talk about the archers, and this is what I wanted to notice. You do have the Woodland Scouts. These are basic units. They're pretty much the same cost as anything. 170 average. They don't have a lot of missiles, do note that. Then you have the Woodland Sentinels. Now, this is where they start having some interesting stuff. Good missile numbers, range 190 and high accuracy. This is really cool for having a little bit of a hit on the early game. I would go for Woodland Sentinels as fast as possible, and then you can also complement later on with the heavy archers like you've seen. Hini Dower, I mean, these guys, they can kill anything. 12 missile attack with 240 meters and exceptional accuracy. Pretty much one of the best archer units there is. You also have the Yuri Bang, 10 on missile attack, and do note, less range, less accuracy, less missiles, and less bonuses, because the other ones have more bonuses, even against Oliphones. So just get these units before getting the Yuri Bang. The Hin Edower are really the unit that you would like to have in all aspects. And the upkeep, it's perfect. So for me, the late game army would be lots of these guys and lots of spearman units and lots of hackers, which is what I call the hack and slashers. I mean, basically that's what I like to call them. The Mythir Ithauri, better to say the X-Men of the Wood Elves. Having like 3 units of this and 5 of the Hinidower and 5 Woodland Spearmen, you can pretty much take on anything that comes along, So in terms of upkeep, is of course very high. It's a bad early, let's go into the finances, it's a bad early start. Even though you have, you can sell out the military access and stuff, so it's not as bad as the Galadrim. And just trade with Dale. Just trade with give them maps for money, give them military access for money, give them the dwarves military access for money, all that jazz. And you will have some mines nearby, which is pretty much the difference between this faction and the Galadrim faction. you will have something earlier on. You know, there's some places that you can get a boost by getting the mines, which is really nice, you know, and really important. So don't overlook that. And all of these places, they actually have decent trade, so it's kind of fine. As soon as you reach Dol Guldur, you're pretty much in a good position financially. And even before that, you will be able to maintain your troops. It's not like Galadrim, which has, you know, you're desperate for forts. Over here, it's kind of like, oh, there's a fort there. Yeah, I might be able to send some troops there just to make sure that I'm not attacked from the north. But it's not really that important, I would say. Still, as any elven army, I would go for the Halls of Culture to make sure that I get some free upkeep units. By the way, these Tawar Arinavir, you know, the basic bodyguards, look at the upkeep. These guys cost as much as your basic archers, kinda, in terms of upkeep, because the basic archers cost like 300. And you have all of this. I mean, 210 meters and exceptional. Trust me, these guys, I don't care if they're 37, they will provide you more damage than the basic archers. You know, they will cause more damage. I don't care how many men they are, at least for their costs. So, and you can still send them, you know, to fight in melee as well. It's a general. Come on. So what did I mention? Okay, basically, as I've said, you have two good generals. These are good generals. I consider more because of the special ability. If they didn't have, I would say that it's average general. You know, a 5 command and well, this one is good. The other one is average, let's say. 5, it's the average. You always want a 5 command at least. Lower than that, and you can get into troubles on morale. Okay, I think that will be it in terms of the review. You know, capture these places. This is pretty much scripted. You know, just capture these places, capture anything that you can before Dol Guldur, and then be careful about the ambushes, and really enjoy the unit roster. I think this is probably, for you to have the first playthrough, I would always advise this. You know, I would always advise this faction to play as the first playthrough with elven factions. I think it's actually really cool. The Linden, I would advise the Grey Heavens of Linden, mostly because of the easiness of it, but it's a very long campaign, so you know, kind of considering things, I think these are probably the most balanced elves, I would say. They're still overpowered, but they're the most balanced. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed this one, this little talk and discussion about the Woodland Realm. Let me know if you would like more of these. I'm trying to pump them as much as I can while still recording the other campaigns and doing other stuff. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next episode, next overview. Bye bye.